29th of December 2025, Anthony Joshua is involved in a horrific car accident, losing two of his best friends. And AJ himself sustained injuries in the crash, with fans around the world thinking we'd never see him fight ever again. But this weekend, the British boxing legend returns to carry on his legacy ahead of an inevitable clash with his nemesis, Tyson Fury. But first, he must come through a test in the form of 20-1 heavyweight Christian Prenga, whose 20 wins all come by knockout. And how will AJ look after everything he's been through? No one knows. But it's vital he shows that he's still got it ahead of the biggest fight of his career later this year. And you can be sure that all those AJ fans who feared we'd never see him fight again will love every single second of seeing the two-time world champion back in the ring once again. And for the first time ever, I've actually got a discount. If you want to buy this fight on pay-per-view, you can get 10% off when you use my code PAIN10. That's PAIN10, all block capitals, all one word, when you buy the pay-per-view as a new DAZN customer. Just click the link below and use PAIN10 for 10% off. And the good news is that me and the Pain Game lads will be live for the fight on Saturday night on the Pain Game. Welcome back to the Pain Game. Anthony Joshua returns this weekend. And lads, obviously 6-7 months ago, he was involved in a fatal car accident where two of his best mates died, and we never thought, we probably at the time thought we're not going to see him fight again. We were all hoping for one more fight at least, just to give him that appreciation, to show him, just to say it one more time and be grateful for him stepping back in the ring. How happy are we that this is happening? You know,
someone who I was on GB with, naturally I've got that soft spot for him, but you know what I did say at the time was, with AJ, the way how motivated he is, I actually think this will make him even more driven, because at that stage in his career, we had the whole rebuild, and I think mentally he still wasn't quite right, even though, you know, with Ben Davison, he looked like he was putting in some great performances, but as we're seeing what happened with Daniel Dubois, he clearly wasn't right. In the worst circumstances, I think this is actually, for his boxing career, a good thing.
Just to try and put yourself in AJ's shoes, Travis, for you go through a near-death experience. You do stand-up comedy, which is quite a nerve-wracking thing, right? Like, if you could try and put yourself in his shoes, what kind of frame of mind will he be in coming into this fight, in your opinion?
When you've been through something that intense, right? And I think grief is also something that's like, it's quite transformative. Do you know what I mean? When you experience that, especially close friends or family and relatives, it does change your view of the world and your experiences. And, you know, things that were important at one point are less important. Do you see what I mean? And I think with AJ's new temperament, you see that he seems a little bit more measured. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think the things that weighed as heavy on his mind before that incident, I don't think there's still the same level of priority in his mind. I think there's a different level of grounding where you start thinking, mate, I've lost my two closest friends, and all this media noise that maybe used to bother me and irritate me, it doesn't in the same way anymore. At this point, I'm just being at a base level what I am, and that's a fighter. And I think that's probably made him a little bit more poised and a bit more dangerous, you know, going into the ring this time.
And I think we've always known that performance anxiety has been a thing with Anthony Joshua. I mean, we all get it, lads, but he gets it in the ring a little bit. And I guess when you've literally gone through the scariest thing possible, in watching your life flash before your eyes and literally seeing the horrific scenes that we all see, and I can only imagine that it can make people go one of two ways. Some people can be consumed with anger and pain, and others can kind of be a little bit enlightened by the experience, as tragic as it was, to kind of go, what am I, what is important? What am I worried about? And kind of see the bigger picture, and instead of being so in the moment as much, and to think of what this experience is, and almost to be more grateful for the opportunity than stressed about it. Joy, you've stepped foot in the ring, the big crowds before, you know what that's like. What are you expecting from Anthony Joshua coming into a fight where the guy in front of him is not, a nothing opponent? We respect that he's a game fighter. He's got big knockout ratio, 20 knockouts, 1 defeat. What do you think his mentality is going to be like approaching this?
I think he's going to be a lot better than he was in that Jake Paul fight. And I think that it might take someone who's got in the ring to understand this, but I think there was more pressure on him going into that Jake Paul fight, and I think he was way more conscious. And I think that, when you say about that performance anxiety, I think a less conscious version of AJ is always the AJ that we get the best results from. And I think that because he's not going to be thinking about, the different station he's boxing on in Netflix, which was out of his comfort zone, the fact that it's not his show, he's not the home fighter, he's ring walking first, things like that, like he was against Jake Paul. I think that AJ is going to relish the chance to get his chops into a proper heavyweight. I think he'll feel more comfortable. I think he'll feel more comfortable with the target practice of a 6'3", 6'4" man, whatever Prenga is, in front of him, as opposed to someone like Jake Paul who's running around the ring. And I think that it will actually bring the best out in Anthony Joshua. So I believe that sparring more conventional fighters in this camp, which I'm sure he has done, will be something that will fill him with more confidence. And the key thing to say is I'm not on about confidence you win. I think just confidence in how the fight goes, how you feel in the moment, and not being aware, because being conscious and aware in the ring is a horrible thing. They say the moment takes over you and whatnot. You kind of want it to, in my opinion. You want the moment to take over you. You don't want to be conscious in there. And that's very much what I feel like AJ was in that last fight. And that could be being out of his comfort zone. But I think this time round, we're going to see a better version of AJ. I think we're going to see a sharper. I think we're going to see counter punches way more than we saw in the Jake Paul fight.
There was nothing to counter, was there?
There was nothing to counter. There we go.
Counter in thin air.
And I also think when we speak about those hurdles, just quickly, when we speak about those hurdles, we always go on the biggest and the most significant one, which is the fact that he lost two people that not only are his friends, they're part of his training team. Yeah. And that's going to be something that we ultimately won't learn until fight night. But there will have been silent hurdles that AJ overcame. I think definitely from a mental aspect, I think you'd have to be Superman, or you'd have to have no emotion in you to not have to overcome a mental hurdle. But also, AJ's not your typical fighter, or he's not the type to seek attention from things and whatnot. And I think that there would have been physical sort of complications there that he silently overcame, and he wouldn't have wanted to have out in the media for his opponents to know about.
Eddie Hearn's confirmed that, and obviously there was like acknowledgements of there are injuries, but obviously they kept them as quiet as possible. He said in a promo video, "You lot have no idea what it's taken to get AJ from that moment to this moment." And I think he is a bit superhuman, AJ, and I think there's a lot of negativity around warm-up fights, because obviously this is essentially what this is. I don't want to hear anyone criticize AJ for not fighting, a Dubois, a Wardley, or this guy already had a lot of time out of the ring. Then a Jake Paul fight, which was a freak show to some degree, and you rightly mentioned how this might be a more comfortable fight for him, because in New York, in America, where you're chasing around this kid who doesn't really want to engage, and everyone's judging you. Well, why haven't you knocked him out yet? And you're understanding, it really is it's the worst kind of way to fight that, when the whole world's judging you by every second that goes by is another mark on your name of, he is not very good then, is he? It's a terrible frame of mind to be in, as opposed to when you're in there with another heavyweight who's trying to knock you out, and you're in Jeddah, which is a lot more chilled out vibe, and you're not the circus that Jake Paul brings. And you mentioned confidence, Joey, and I do want to go into that, because AJ's openly admitted this is a confidence fight. I need to get my confidence up before I fight a Tyson Fury. And I love AJ's honesty and the fact that he comes out with stuff like that, because let's be real, Tyson Fury would never say, I need to get my confidence up. He would never be that open with us. And, I'm not bashing Fury, but most fighters wouldn't. And what do we make about the fact that he is openly admitting that, and that he's saying, I do need to get my confidence up for this fight? What do you think of that, lads?
I think it's totally understandable, because not only did he have a devastating defeat against Daniel Dubois, the trauma that he's went through, this isn't just, as you just mentioned, the injuries alone. He's not going to really know how his body's going to feel until fight night, because the gym is totally different. He's got a new camp. He'll be testing things out. And I know he had the Jake Paul fight, but like you say, you can't test your boxing skills against a man who's running away. You need the right opponent to actually throw shots back at you. So I think there's so many levels, and just on the emotional level, he needs to get in the ring and just realize now I'm in with a live opponent and he needs to test the water essentially. So I think you've got to give him, a little bit of leeway. The fact that he's not jumping in there with a world-class fighter, I think it's the perfect type of fight. And the simple fact is he's fighting a man who's actually unbeaten. He is dangerous. Is it 19, 20 knockouts?
20 knockouts and 1 defeat. Yeah.
So he's not going in there with a guy with multiple losses on his record. So you've got to give him a little bit of leeway in this case, in my opinion.
My worry, lads, and we seen the Prenga hitting the pads, right? And I was like, you're quicker than I thought you, and you're clearly a live dog to some degree. My thing about this fight is, he is not in the league of an Anthony Joshua, a gold medalist, 2-time world champion. We've seen the body of work AJ's put. But if AJ was ever going to lose to a guy of this caliber, it's at this point in his career after what he's been through. This is the most vulnerable an opponent will ever see Anthony Joshua. He didn't look amazing in the Jake Paul fight because of the situation he was in. You've been through this car accident. He's going to come into this with more belief than he ever would have done at any point in AJ's career prior to now. And this is where I see an element of danger. I'm not saying that we should be looking at AJ as not the favorite, but it's the most vulnerable he could be at this point, in my opinion. Yeah. I want to go to Travis. The Usyk team connection. My worry with the Usyk's team is a paralysis by analysis, like a little too techy. What kind of fit is this going to be for AJ with a completely different team?
It's interesting because we're going to see how good that team are, right? And, whether or not they're going to do something and reverse all of AJ's wonderful attributes and try and reform him into an Usyk, like a Roy Jones Jr. camp or a Virgil Hunter.
To totally reinvent him. Yeah, that's a worry for me.
And have him doing the high lead hand and bouncing back and forth. I'd be very frustrated if I saw that reinvention of AJ and try and transform him into Usyk. I hopefully believe that they are intelligent enough to not try and reinvent the wheel with AJ and just add a couple of little attributes to his game. We've seen that he does have an extensive game. He just doesn't tend to put it together in the way that we want to on fight night, right? So it's like, he goes through this stage of hesitancy. He finds his right hand again with Ben Davison, with Ngannou, goes straight into the Dubois fight and suddenly just believes only in that one right hand and just abandons all the defensive stuff that he's shown at different fights. So hopefully this is just somebody saying, hey, these are the attributes that you already have. Let's put it together in a good way. So I think that's my main concern when people talk about what are we looking for. I just want to see that we're putting it together in the way that we need to, because I think he's actually got everything he needs.
AJ looks leaner than I've seen him in years. And my first thought was, you're moving around a lot in training. Surely to get any weight off of a giant like you. They must be thinking about the Fury fight as well. What do you make of the fact that he just looks shredded as he does, as at the age that he's at as well, which usually fighters do thicken out as they get older?
When I was boxing alongside AJ, everyone thought that he must do loads of weight training, but that's just his natural, physical, that's his body. He can just put on muscle for fun. I think he looks at a weight bench and the muscle just comes on. And I think really the fact... I know. I think the fact that he's so lean is more not a case of the trying to make him lose body weight and be lighter and leaner. I think it's just a product of the conditioning that Usyk team does, because he's mentioned it in interviews, like the conditioning is next level, and he obviously thought he trained hard, but Usyk camp clearly has taken to the next level. So I don't think it's been a conscious thing, but naturally the Usyk team, they do move a lot, the footwork side of things, and just kind of jumping onto what Travis was saying, the tools are all there. Like I do think with AJ, he's Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. It's all about just putting it together. And I think the extra footwork for me, I think is a good thing, because AJ can be at times a little bit more ploddy and he can look a little bit stiff. So I think it's only going to be a great thing.
I think that fitness is peace of mind for a boxer. And I think that AJ's fittest I've probably seen him would be for both rematches, to be fair, would be either for the Andy Ruiz rematch or for the Usyk rematch, which I think is an underrated performance. When I say it's peace of mind, I don't mean because you're necessarily worrying about your fitness, but I think offensively, you just know I can go to the well, I can go there again in a minute, I can go there again in a minute. And when you look back through Anthony Joshua's career, one of the things that has ultimately kind of meant that he's had bad fights or had bad moments in fights has been those sort of middle rounds where things have slipped off a little bit. And I look at that Andy Ruiz rematch, right? I never thought that AJ was going to completely implement that style, but I didn't think there would be as drastic a change from that fight to the next fight, which I believe was Pulev when he came in heavier, behind closed doors. I think this one was, I believe that was Pulev. And that was a real difference, right? Now, when I saw AJ in that Andy Ruiz rematch, I thought that was the Klitschko regen almost. When Klitschko lost, came back, he was using his feet more. And I was interested, maybe I should say, to see a little bit of an evolution of that style, to see whether he could take a little bit away from the footwork, but still it be a lot more than it was before, and add a little bit to the punch power in the right moments, the intelligence to use them feet and then sit down on your shots when you get him hurt, like he did Andy Ruiz. So I think that that's a style that AJ's got that many of us either haven't seen or don't cast our mind back too quickly to. And I think that could show its head in this fight, but I don't think necessarily we're going to get a back foot Anthony Joshua like that. I think we're going to get somewhere in the middle, and I think that the condition he's in will be down to the amount of fitness training he's done in there as well.
I think he went to the Usyk team, A, because they beat him and he respected them and he knows that they clearly know what they're doing, but B, because they beat Tyson Fury twice and they have got him already implementing a strategy, a style of AJ that they want him to embody. Because when I look at Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, they're both good at a lot of things, but if you look at what they have done exceptionally well, you look at AJ's power being significantly better than Fury's, in my opinion, and you look at the movement of Tyson Fury and say that he's a world-class mover, right? But as you look at Fury getting older, the moving, in my opinion, is on the decline. With AJ, power is the last thing to go in heavyweights, so I would assume that won't be on the decline. We'll find out as he gets on, but I think what they're trying to do is bring up that weakness in where he's looking at Fury and going, if we get you really, really fucking fit the way Usyk was, the chances for Fury to beat you decrease, because where's he going to get you then? You're going to be just as fit as him. You're going to be able to move as quick as him, if not quicker potentially, because he's now on the decline. We're going to try and close as many gaps as we can in advance of that fight. That's the way I'm perceiving it. But I do want to ask you about this kid, Prenga, because, we've been watching him. Joey, you said in the group chat, you think he's a level above the last Tyson Fury opponent, who was another warm-up fight. What makes you say that?
It's hard to tell where he is in comparison to Arslan Bekmambetov, but I think in terms of Mariusz Wach, he's definitely a level above. And the main reason for that is Christian Prenga's got ambition to want to win. We know full well that he's going to be looking at this and going, if I beat you, that Tyson Fury fight is mine. And even if it's not the Tyson Fury fight, it's definitely the AJ rematch, which I'm going to get paid a lot more from. The main thing I'm looking at, really, is probably that bit of pad work you sent in the other day. And I think that bit of pad work from Christian Prenga, it opened a lot of people's eyes up to a little bit of speed that he may have and stuff like that, where he may be able to definitely cause Anthony Joshua some problems if he can get him into those sort of positions. Whether he's got the feet to or not, that's my main doubt here about Christian Prenga.
I like his body shots, to be fair. I've seen him drop a few guys with body shots, which is obviously always a bit of all right, you got that kind of power then. What do you think, Loza?
I'll be honest, the pad works, it doesn't fool me. I think pad work's pad work. Anybody can make you look good on their pads. I coach myself, so I can make people look like Floyd Mayweather if I want to. So the pad work's nothing, and the level of opponents that he's been fighting is nowhere near the caliber of AJ. So for me, the biggest thing, like what Joey said, it's the ambition. That's the biggest difference, because that belief in the potential opportunities that'll come, that is a powerful tool. And like you say, AJ is currently probably the most vulnerable stage of his career in terms of mentally. He's older, so it's a perfect time if he was going to beat AJ. But I still don't think there's enough there. I'm sorry, the pad work's doing nothing for me.
Travis, I heard a little interview of AJ kind of reflecting on the Jake Paul fight, and he was like, yeah, I just couldn't get him out of there like earlier. And like, I could see it was still bothering him, still now. Will that be in the back of his mind, do you think, coming into this fight? And do you think there is that will add some pressure and make him really want to make this a very painful statement come Saturday?
I don't think so. I don't think that Jake Paul thing will carry into real boxing. I think because it was like those side missions. You know what I mean? If you ever play a boxing game and it's just like race against the clock, knock this guy out and you get more points.
That's such a good analogy.
Yeah, literally like a side quest. Like now we're back into real boxing. I don't have those markers. My only thing as a AJ fan is I just want to know that you still look like you, because all the data that we have up to this point, it's null and void. That Dubois performance, the Jake Paul thing, the accident has happened. Yeah. Where now I just need to look at you in the ring and be like, he's still AJ. That will give me the peace of mind going into the Fury fight. Whereas I don't think he's going to be going into this one thinking, shit, I'm in round 2, I'm in round 3. People are going to be thinking I should have got this guy out of here. Nah. And I'm also like aware of all the things that, you guys mentioned before in terms of when guys get in the ring with your AJs and your Furies, they know they have the world to gain. So all of their data is almost null and void as well, because they're going to be on extra 50% ready to try and, you know what I mean?
Every punch they throw, they're buying a lottery ticket every single time. And that lottery ticket might just come in like every single punch, like fucking hell, lads. All right. We'll wrap this up with a little bit of a prediction. And for the prediction, obviously, I think we're all going to obviously go AJ. I'm more interested to know, is it a good win or a disappointing win? Because I think they're two different scenarios. Is it one where AJ does look mentally impacted, does look jaded, or is it one where you think, nah, he still got it? What are you expecting?
I think we're going to see a great AJ, just off the whole body language, listen to the interviews, and he's got this real zen vibe about him where I think he's got so much clarity. And even when he was talking about the 2 friends that he's lost, like the support in their parents and families, like he's got so much motivation. I just think we're going to see the best version. I think we're going to get a little bit of the old AJ, that aggression, because I think it's going to be deep down there. I think despite looking relaxed and calm, I think he's out to make a statement, combined with the Usyk's team, the stuff they would have been working on. I think we're going to see a lot better version, definitely than the Jake Paul fight, put it that way, with a real live opponent in front of him. I see an early stoppage, personally.
You talk about the aggression, lads, just quickly to jump in there. When Fury called him out at ringside and he was like, I'm not fucking doing what you tell me to do. And there was like, there is a switch in this guy, isn't there? There's a bad motherfucker in there. It's there for special occasions. But like, we're all lucky he's a nice guy, basically. But I think you're right about that. I just want to say that demon is still there somewhere, because I think he flashed it a bit there at Fury.
I almost feel like because he's so calm, I feel like we're going to see even a darker side of him come fight night. I feel as if this is almost an illusion, like he's given this false sense of security. But like you say, AJ's from the streets. He's he hasn't had this calm, nice upbringing. He's definitely got a bad boy inside of him. So I think it's going to be coming out come fight night.
What, mate? When you stare death in the face, as some people have, it changes you. And it makes you capable of things that you probably weren't capable of before. And I'm not trying to glorify it and glamorize it, because it's really not. But there's things you find out about yourself that can bring you that clarity, and weirdly enhance certain parts of your personality and make you go to places that you didn't really know were possible before. And I think we've all seen Anthony Joshua has been searching for something for a long time in his life, where he's gone on these retreats where he's locked himself in. I don't know if it was ayahuasca, or he was doing spiritual searching. And when you have been through an experience where you say death in the face like that, I wonder, is it possible that he has found something that maybe the meaning of his journey that he might have been searching for? Because the way he's talking now, it does feel different. It does feel like he is speaking with more clarity. Joy, sorry, what were you going to say, mate?
Well, I think that Christian Prenga basically decides how this fight's going to go in terms of how ambitious he is. I'm going to be ambitious here. I'm going to go AJ within 2 rounds. Now I'm starting to speak about it. I'm really starting to feel it. I think that Christian Prenga might come out there and, to his own discredit, maybe in the end, I think he'll be quite ambitious. And I think that when he does choose to be ambitious, we kind of saw it in the Otto Wallin fight. Otto Wallin never really opened up. And as soon as he did, you saw AJ landed that right hand that staggered him back to the ropes. It was probably a better punch than anything that actually ended that fight. But that was the beginning of the end. And I think that when opponents come across a confident version of Anthony Joshua and decide to try and trade with him, that's when usually usually they'll come unstuck. I say usually because it didn't happen to Daniel Dubois, but at the same time as that, we remember him getting caught cold in the Daniel Dubois fight, in essence. When you get caught in the first round at any weight class, it can have a detrimental effect on your performance. At heavyweight, that detrimental effect goes tenfold. And I believe that in that Daniel Dubois fight, he's in with someone with way more skill and class than Christian Prenga, and someone that shared a ring with him before. I think against Prenga may well come out there ambitious, but I think, like I've said, that opportunity to counterpunch that he didn't have because he was buzzed early against Dubois, he never had against Jake Paul because he ran, and no one ever seems to have against Alexander Usyk. That opportunity will be something that when he gets a taste for it, Anthony Joshua, I think he's going to relish it. And like I said, Prenga's not got the feet to go defensive, be back foot, anything like that. If he does, it will shock me. So I think an ambitious Prenga gets stopped within 2 or 3.
Oh, I love the sound of that. Well, we're going to be watching this live, remember? So, yeah,
yes.
Join the live stream for the reactions. Travis, what are you thinking, mate? Same?
I think we're looking about 5 rounds. I think 5 rounds. I think the first couple rounds, I think Prenga is actually going to come out quite laboured and take a look and really kind of box with AJ for a bit. And I think that's going to be to his detriment. I think AJ is probably relish in just having some ring time. Do you know what I mean? I think, once you assess the threat, realize, you're not on my level, he might take his time and wait for it to be clear. Do you know what I mean? It'd be good to see if he still has any of these, close the show demons, right? Like the Pulev one where it was just like, dude, the guy's ready to go. Take him out of there. So it'd be quite interesting to see what that looks like. So I can see it being a bit more like, look, I've got a new team. I want to show some new tricks. Do you know what I mean? Round 4, 5, I think we're closing the show.
Albanians are tough. That's one thing I will say. So yeah, obviously toughness doesn't really matter with AJ. As Francis Ngannou found out, one of the biggest, strongest humans on the planet. And like you say, Joey, once he came out ambitious immediately and paid the price for it. And I heard a funny story from Eddie Hearn. He had dinner the night before that fight with Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury said, I hope your boy's ready, because the guy hits really hard and he's got a fucking granite chin. And obviously, I'd love to know what was going through Fury's head when he watched that at ringside. Apparently, Fury will be there at ringside, so after he's going to fly there. So we'll hopefully, at this point, finally see them square off afterwards and cement this fight is on the way. I'm going to say, actually,
to shove him. I'd love for AJ to shove him.
Yeah. I want to see a little bit more handbags this time. And I'm actually, what Joey said about that ambition, I completely agree. I think if you show ambition against Anthony Joshua and you're not an elite fighter, you're going to hit the deck. So yeah, I'm up for an early knockout first 3 rounds. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We can't wait to see the return of Anthony Joshua live on DAZN. Link in the description below. Don't forget to use our code, and we will be live on the Pain Game, reacting as it happens and enjoying ourselves, lads. I can't wait for it. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.